Oh, we're live now. Look at you and your no-name can of beer.
I'm doing good in life now. They sell these in Abbotsford, behind the Nature's Pickings.
1 can at a time.
35 cents a can, so I'm just, that's
Stop
my
it.
I'm kidding, they're not.
Stop it.
So let's get into
Hey, welcome everybody. It's Thursday, 5:30. We're back in the well-seasoned kitchen. I'm Angie. This is Chef Deniz. Welcome to the kitchen. What happened to your beer can? Did you finish drinking it?
I'm going to drink it in a dish pit. So when I turn there, I have another glass, and I turn here, I have another glass, covered my bases.
Should I put it in a little paper bag for you?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm 43 years old. I don't care anymore.
Some friends dropped off a sample of a new beer that they're making today, so Dennis and I were just enjoying it. So
Keep
yeah.
those samples coming, please. I love them samples. I'll sample anything.
So we were just having a cold beer before we started, which is like really amazing way to end the day. 5:30 before we start hitting the wine hard.
Yeah, everywhere smells like lamb.
I know, holy.
She hates lamb, and I love lamb.
Yeah, I'm not a lover of the lamb, but our weekly dinner tomorrow is sold out, and it looks amazing, and all the other components aside from the lamb.
I don't like being lamb.
He was so happy with himself today.
No, I'm Turkish, right? So I grew up in a lot of.
What?
Well, not anymore. I mean, I'm Canadian now.
Okay.
I don't know. But anyway. Huh?
Not Turkish anymore?
No.
I don't know how am I referred. I don't know. But I wouldn't call myself Turkish anymore.
Okay.
I don't know, by origin. But anyway, we eat a lot of lamb, so I grew up on it, and I just, Angie was against the idea, but I really wanted to put a traditional Turkish dinner with a lot of grains and lamb, and I managed to pull it off, and I regretted it, because lamb shanks are huge in size, and they don't fit in the oven quite well, so I've been cooking lamb shanks for 2 days straight now, which I have another batch to go tomorrow.
It's like a sweatshop around here right
Yeah.
now.
That, This talk has got nothing to do with tonight's segment either. I mean,
We generally just start
I mean,
out
the
these
beer
segments
is hitting me.
complaining about things. So anyhow, so if you ordered our weekly meal tomorrow, you're in luck. If you didn't, too bad, it's already
if
sold
you like
out.
lamb, it's delicious.
Next week's dinner, though I'm really excited for already, it's fresh pasta, which is, not being made by this guy, but a friend of his.
12 kilograms of pasta with this machine is I would probably move in here and work like 36
Just think of how much action you could get with the crank.
With this?
You'd have like huge muscles.
I can do that at home on my own.
That's a different show. You can
right.
do that on your own YouTube channel.
I have a YouTube show now.
Yeah, he
just
has
so you
his
know.
own YouTube channel now. It's Chef Deniz.
No, Dennis's kitchen.
Deniz's kitchen.
She hasn't seen it yet, that's why.
Oh, I've seen it. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'm your
Okay.
only fan.
Okay, great. I
Yeah.
got one follower now.
Oh,
Two,
David
sorry,
saw
sorry,
it
we're
too.
okay. We all hang out. We finish up here, go and shoot at my place.
So next week is fresh pasta dinner. So it's pasta with a really, really delicious seafood sauce. So it's got sable fish, prawns, and scallops in the sauce. It'll be a really
well,
good
we have
meal.
some of the best fish in the world, to be honest. It's great Pacific Northwest. We got cold oceans. It's nutrient rich. All the fishes fighting for their lives constantly. So they're like the muscle structure is there. And it's nice and plump. It's wild. So we really need to highlight it. Also, one of my friends started their pasta company. And he does a kick-ass job. And I would like to introduce him also. It's Pastaggio. That was a weird way of saying it. Sorry, maybe it's not right. I don't know. But anyway, he makes incredible pasta. And
yeah, we
and I just
sampled
wanna say,
some
yeah.
last week or the week before, and it was really delicious. So we decided
It's
to
very, very
feature
good.
his fresh pasta in our weekly meal. And hopefully once he's fully up and running with a full production, maybe we can carry his fresh pasta here in the store, which would be really amazing. So
yeah, we're
next
waiting
week,
for you, Daniel.
Yeah, so next week we can, we'll be excited to serve you the pasta dinner. But tonight, Dee is making pasta. I don't know if you saw
Somebody twisted my arm last week. I didn't sign up
It
for
was
this.
you guys. You asked for fresh pasta. It was everybody who watches these classes has been asking for fresh pasta. And he's been like, no, we can't really do it justice in an hour. It's more involved than that. So he's going to,
I'll
tighten
just
it
shuffle
up.
the book a little bit for you and show some of the tools that are necessary to make fresh pasta. But I have them all here. We're going to talk about it in a minute.
So you tonight, Chef's going to talk to you about basic pasta dough. and then he's going to talk to you just about a couple of cuts, like I think hand-cut noodles, and then a Garganelli pasta.
What are you talking?
Aren't you doing noodles? I thought we talked about noodles.
We had this conversation like a few hours before.
I don't even
You know what?
listen
I'll
anymore.
do noodles.
I don't
I'll do
listen to
noodles.
him.
All this random stuff, though.
It's like we're married. I don't hear anything he
No.
says anymore.
God. Again? Second time? No.
Oh, yeah.
I am going to, like, pasta, it looks so simple, and it is simple, but it is an endless pit. You can't just cover pasta. I can't show you something here, and you're just going to take it home and knock it out of the park. It just doesn't work like that. It requires a lot of experience, understanding.
The dough.
It's all about the dough. Yeah. It's an endless pit.
The moisture in the dough and just getting used to how it feels and how to roll it out. And there's a lot
See, I call that the paradox of dough because it's not about feel. If you have enough experience, you would make the dough right in the first place, so you wouldn't adjust it. People who adjust dough are, I'm sorry, man, you guys have a lot of work to do.
But you have to learn how to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the only way to do is just to practice and then sit at home and start mixing pasta. Make it a weekly, and it's a very rewarding too. Because once you hit a sublime pasta level, which is in about 20 years in the kitchens, I met 2 cooks that can do that. And I work with some of the best cooks in the country on the West Coast that are available. Only 2 cooks can do that. The rest of them makes great pasta. But pasta is all about doing simplicity perfectly right, which is a daunting task. It is. It just is. It's that's why Italian cuisine is referred as a little bit of bland in the Western world. Let's say that's compared to Mexican cuisine or Thai cuisine. You know, they have all these things. But Italian cuisine relies on simplicity and the perfect execution of the simplicity. And when you can pull that off, that's why it's so powerful all over the world. And Italian restaurant is the most successful business model in amongst the restaurant world. I would like to say in any country, anywhere, even if you do it mediocre, it kind of works.
But pasta is like everybody in every sort of part of the world has some sort of pasta dough. You know, like a dumpling
absolutely.
dough or something like that they use. You know, in Chinese, it's the dumpling dough. Ravioli, same idea in
Everywhere. It exists in every culture. It's very addictive. It's very delicious. It's a beautiful thing to eat. It's cheap. Also, it is such a strong food concept. We talked about this before, such as burger or pizza or paella or whatever it is. Whatever you do to it, it kind of works. It just delivers. What about that rapper that puts ranch on her pasta?
Yeah, you told me
there's
that
a
today.
Twitter. There's a war on Twitter on spaghetti with ranch sauce and
spaghetti with ranch sauce.
I don't know.
I know somebody who used to make spaghetti sauce with margarine and ketchup, and I was like, what?
Ooh, shots fired.
What is that about? Anyhow, I'm not married to
So
him
that's
anymore.
good. And then I have a friend in town. He used to be one of the most successful Savia Volpe's sous chef, Daniel, makes all these wonderful tools, which I would like to take a minute before we start and talk about. He got so good at it, he started selling to Italy. Now, all these tools are made by, I found it in a garage in 2004, but whatever. But other than that, everything is made in his garage and is flourishing. He started selling to Italy. If you want a fancy mozzarella like this, it's available. You're gonna put the
I'll
link.
put a link up for the guy who's making, for Daniel, who's making all these tools. They just feel so good in your hand.
Well,
Like-
he made this. Like he made this. Like this Cavarola board, the stuff that you can roll on it.
Yeah.
Brass with tip-top woodwork.
Did he do
and
the Gnocchi board for you?
everything.
Okay.
Other than this, he did
Yeah.
everything.
So I'll share a link to Daniel's Etsy store so you can see what it is.
Just
I
if
mean-
you're into pasta and if you need some swag, just go and buy his stuff. Like it's not better in Italy.
We
He's
obviously sell these at the store, but they're not. These are like next level. These are beautiful, custom, handmade. This is something you'd own for a really long time.
It's
We
good for
s-
life.
Yeah, we sell ravioli cutters, and if you're making ravioli, once or twice a year, you maybe don't need one of these.
And if you're
but-
broke, Are they cheap? Sorry, I didn't even ask the price. I mean, if you don't have the budget for this, because this is handmade stuff and locally made stuff.
It's going to cost more for sure.
It's going to cost more, but the other stuff works wonderful as well. It's just that this is significantly one of those things. As a cook, when I saw it, I'm like, I have to have this. This one's custom made for me.
Nice, very nice. And the snow keyboard's beautiful. I mean, it's like this is what we sell in the store, very similar size, shape, everything, but this is custom handmade. So I'll post a link. So Chef's going to walk you through the noodles. Then he's going to turn the noodles into a Garganelli, which is a rolled pasta. And then he might, if he has time, talk a little bit about stuffing pasta. He's not doing that. He's not stuffing anything tonight. But maybe
that's like
just
the third push in. It's just after the noodles. Well, what are you doing? What's all this random stuff?
I'm just committing you to do everything tonight. So
my mom used to do
we'll
that.
talk all about the pasta, and then he's going to do just a really simple Italian sauce for the pasta. Yeah. And then you're doing a first course, right?
I know. As soon as you get out of the way, I will do all of those.
Listen to this guy now. Okay, so as usual, if you have questions, type them into the comment bar and I'll forward them on to him. If you didn't see him rolling his pasta earlier, he was very proud of himself. So, I mean, he needs a lot of like...
Booze.
So, we'd love to hear from you while this is going on. I know you're going to probably have a lot of questions, so feel free to ask them. And the recipes for tonight should be posted in the comment bar if Kay has popped in. If she hasn't, then I'll post them in just a minute. Oh, they're up. David's nodding. Okay, so get to work, and I'll talk to you in the comments section.
I still have to make pasta dough, so
I have
an
my
appetizer.
beverages of
You're still
choice.
here. Come on.
Go.
Power struggle is real.
What?
Nothing. Well, let's talk about pasta. Now, pasta is all about the dough. And to be able to make successful pasta, you should learn how to read flour. Meaning, you will need the proper flour for your dough, which is the heart and soul of pasta, right? And the best, like there is different flours that you can use for different things in pasta making. But your best bang for your buck is the Tipo 00 flour. This refers to the fineness of the flour, how it's milled. This is the finest. It's almost like icing sugar kind of texture. So it gives you a creamy, it hydrates a little bit better. It gives you a creamier dough. And then you would like soft wheat flour for egg pasta, egg noodles. And then you would like drum wheat or semolina, fine semolina, Tipo 00 again, for your extruded pastas. Extruded pastas are not handmade pastas. They're fresh pasta, but that's a different curriculum. We don't have an extruder, so we're not going to cover that. But this is all about the handmade pasta. So go to your Italian grocery store, ask for Tipo 00 soft wheat flour. Soft wheat flour is, and if you can't find this, please use all-purpose flour. It just works. Not as good as this, but you're not going to be able to achieve that nuance and then be aware of it at this point in the game, unless you're a professional, and that. So that's that. And we sell this in Well Seasoned, right?
Yeah, we have several different brands.
Awesome.
And I think the brands are pretty typical, but people seem to have a favorite.
Yeah. Beautiful. So my flour goes on my board now. You don't need 5 different recipes because you're not charging $30 per plate for your pasta. There's actually one place that does that. But you need one recipe, and there's a single recipe that works for most of the pasta making, and that is referred to as, you'll see it quite a lot online, 100 grams of flour to 1 egg. Now, if you're a little dough nerd like me, it's a bit of a vague thing to say because eggs vary in sizes and 5% in hydration. Like sometimes your pasta dough wouldn't just come together for whatever reason. It's dough, it smells weird, it'll challenge you. And you literally just like wash your hands, do a clap, and with moisture hands, and you just roll into it, and the whole thing comes together. Now, if that amount of moisture is making a little difference, that 5% in egg will make all the difference. So, crack your eggs in a bowl, please buy a scale, like it's 2021, they're cheap enough. And crack your eggs in a bowl. Measure your liquid so you can adapt your dry part later rather than saying 100 grams one. Why is my dough dry? Now I need to fix it. Well, if you knew it, sufficient enough, you wouldn't have to fix it in the first place. And now you're just going to start doing tricks and all that jazz. So measure your eggs. ×2 is your flour. And that's very, very easy. That's for machine stretching. If you're doing mozzarella like that large rolling pin, it's a little bit different and whatnot. Use good quality eggs, obviously. Now, I have a little trick just to give some color to the pasta. This is adulteration of pasta, and I don't encourage anybody doing this. It's sacrilegious. But I put a pinch of turmeric in the pasta, just the tiniest pinch, just to color correct the whole thing. Also, doesn't matter how good your eggs, bright your yolks are. When it cooks, the egg protein will go pale. So it avoids that, and it gives you a nice, brightly colored yolk. It's here, my well. Make sure your foundation of your walls are strong. This is only a 3-egg dough, so it's not the end of the world if it leaks. I have a large counter space. But when you're doing a 30-egg dough, if you have a weak point, if the eggs just goes up there, the whole thing will just run out, and you'll end up in a mess. If you're working on a wooden board, don't pierce your yolks with the side of your fork. And then I'm just going to start whisking this.
Sorry, Chef, the turmeric doesn't really add a lot of flavor to the dough.
You can't detect it.
No, it's just the color.
It's just the color. I mean, unless you put a lot of turmeric. But turmeric is very powerful in dyeing skills, which you can see around the kitchen here if you were here.
Yeah, there's orange fingerprints everywhere.
That's me. By the time I'm done here, it's going to be all yellow. So,
that's exciting.
what is? Orange?
Yeah.
Oh, now I'm going to start to introduce my flour a little bit at a time. The idea is when you do a really, really large batch to give enough flour before you start cutting into it so that your eggs wouldn't just run away from your counter. You can completely do this in a kitchen processor, putting together part. You cannot knead. You can do this with a stand mixer, but I mean, I have a glass of wine. I look like I know what I'm doing, so it is a fun process.
It's early.
Unless you're doing it for 300 people, then it becomes psychotic. It's different, but don't do that to yourself. Okay, so I have this nice little lump. This is a bench scraper. If you're a baker, you know how important this is. This looks like any other, but this is mine. And if you bake, please have one of these at home. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring everything and I'm going to start cutting the pasta, cutting the dough. This is going to allow me to get the moisture all over my flour so that all the flour granules becomes hydrated. Now this part is quite important because proper hydration will give you a good dough. A good dough will give you a good sheet, and a good sheet will give you, you will be able to shape a good sheet of pasta better than a wonky sheet of pasta. That's where the thing starts to fall apart, right? That let's say your dough is so stiff, it starts breaking around around your filling when your hand's shaping it. So, or if your dough is too loose, or if your filling is too wet and it's leaking out, now you got stains all over your pasta. So again, this is just a matter of execution of simplicity perfectly. If you do everything right, it is a delightful process. But if you just, 5% off, it can be really, really traumatizing, especially in the large scale. So now, like a scone mix, I have this crumbly dough. By default, when people see this, they say that, hey, this dough is quite wet, quite dry. So let me start adding some moisture to it. Please stick with the ratios if you're an inexperienced baker or when you're handling dough. Dough will come together, okay? please make judgment calls only if you qualify for it. Other than that, no, but I mean, it's...
Don't start screwing with chef's recipe until you know what you're doing.
This is not my recipe. People have been doing this for about a few thousand years now.
It is amazing to see how fast it comes together, though, once you start kneading it.
Now, we have in Turkey, most baking recipes do not have liquid specified. So what it says is as much water as it takes. So I grew up on that. So when you're looking at a dough at this stage, my grandmother's golden rule was to, once you're bringing it together and it just picks up all these little dry spots, it has to be the consistency of an earlobe. That's a good texture to be. It works for bread and it works for pasta. Unless you have cauliflower ears. I mean, that's a different story, but that's...
But you're making an egg dough, so you can make pasta without eggs also.
Yeah, that's the southern style pasta. You can obviously do it with water, but nothing substitutes an egg. So apparently the southern Italy is slightly poorer. They cannot afford as much as the northern part. And so therefore their ragus are more spicy and flavorsome, like bolder in flavor. And so that it would make up for the lack of egg in the dough. The more northern you go, it just comes out as in like just butter and eggs. And on the tip of the north, like Piemonte, you'll see a lot of noodles such as Tairan, just uses egg yolks. Now,
Chef, can you just talk for a second about how you're kneading that out? Like you're using the palm of your hand.
It is. This is a flour that I haven't used before, so I'm just going to go and wet my hands. After putting it together, I am seeing like little dry spots. Okay, but this is all, and I'll show you this, which I'm glad it is happening. This is all I'm doing, and let's just have a go at this again. Now this, the thing about Tipo 00 flour, it absorbs more moisture because it's finer. Sometimes it will challenge you like this. Pick the right day to do it too. Okay.
Do you find, Chef, cooking here in Vancouver that the moisture in the air, like on a rainy day, affects it? Or, I mean,
no,
is it?
Not even close.
No, it's
Nobody
not that
is
sensitive.
that good or precise. I'll tell you that. I mean, it does. It does. Like the ambient temperature is very, very important. But if you're in charge of producing a product, okay, you should be able to make, you should have the skill set to be able to make that call, is what it is. Mm-hmm. You know, you will naturally would know, one more splash of water on the hand. Oh man, this is giving me my run for the money. But again, just a little splash made all that difference. Now, there are two ways of doing pasta dough. One with kneading, or one with, like, you can totally just take this little dough, Miss Difficult, and put it in the fridge, and in about 3 hours, it will be turned into a perfect pasta dough. Because with time, the gluten will work its magic, and the gluten strands will form.
And the hydration will soak through the flour.
Exactly. It will naturally do the work for you. So at this point, all right. Now, whenever you deal with dough, after 3 minutes of work, you just put that to the side. That's when you just go have a cigarette. When the dough relaxes a little bit. Okay? Because she's not being nice to me right now. Okay. That's not a big deal. Let's work on our appetizer and let the dough relax and just get on with its hydration. As far as the friendliness of the usage, the drier dough is a little bit better. It's a bit easier to handle. Let's take a deep breath.
So, Chef, you put a little bit of turmeric in the dough for color. Would you ever add any other spices or herbs to your pasta, like into the dough like that?
Honestly, if you can make really good pasta, you really don't need to. You really don't need to. Like, it just doesn't need it. If you can make a perfect ragu alla bolognese, it doesn't need the herbs, it doesn't need the garlic, it doesn't need the extra things. Let's talk about one of my favorite things to eat, raw meat. I have a little hand-chopped tenderloin here. This is the steak tartare of Italy. You would like a lean meat for this. You don't want sinew in your meat, and you have to clean it really, really well. And I'll show you how easy this appetizer is. Little bit of sun-dried tomato paste. These are sun-dried tomatoes packed in oil. If you have the dry ones, you will have to rehydrate them in hot water. Little herbage, whatever you have in the fridge. Right now I have parsley, mint, and green onions, just to lighten the whole things. A little bit of capers. A little bit of Parmesan. Little olive oil. And this is something I nicked off from Joel, that little bit of chopped pears. It gives a nice crunchy texture in there, and a little bit of sweetness every once in a while. Pears? Pears, yeah, just a chopped pear. Isn't it odd, right?
Did you take the skin off the pear?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did. Who's curious? I would like to know. What's her name?
People need to know things.
Yeah, I want a name. I want names. Here, let's go.
You have a fan on here tonight, Chef. Where did he go? Elmark. Do you know Elmark? Elmark says you're his favorite chef of all time.
I trained him. I know. I was one of the people who trained him.
Sorry, Elmark.
About what? Elmark runs Bodega Ridge, and he's one of the best cooks out there. He's a stud. I'm not going to lie to you. All right, let's check for seasoning. Hi, man, what's up? They're setting up a farm this year.
That's exciting.
It's excellent. The farm. This is okay. Let's get to the rest of the capers. We're going to eat all the wheat, so we might as well start with a little bit of raw meat. So what I'm looking at is not a wet mixture. It's like a nicely seasoned, well seasoned.
That's right.
Right.
Finally, he's catching on. It's only been a year.
Could we turn that lady off, please?
Huh?
Layer up the booze. Come on now. Yeah. Cancel. Muting is not.
I can't get canceled from my own life.
Cafe Medina did that to me.
They canceled you?
No, just like blocked me on Instagram. I'm like, I'm the chef. All right, so what we're looking at is this nice little meat mixture with a lot of flavorings going in. Now let's serve our guests. You know what? It could use a tad more olive oil.
Some gravy.
Gravy.
Gravy, baby. Yep. That's what they call it in Italy. Olive oil, gravy. Well, they call their pasta sauce gravy. Everything that's a sauce is gravy.
It's actually called a salsa. But,
Gravy.
No, I'm not going to canal. Why am I doing this? Here, this is good enough on its own. That's one. I love eating raw meat. I think good quality raw meat, just things like this, with a little bit of flavoring, is very, very delightful. But if you're a vegan, yeah, that's a different story.
I guess you could have chopped up some cashews, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not against the whole thing. Like, whatever makes your boat, float, I guess. Is that what it is? Is that how you people say it?
Yep, float your boat.
Float in your boat. It works.
So this is how you pass the time while your dough's resting. You make steak tartare.
I have a cigarette. I have a no. I just take 5 minutes off and go do something else. Especially like just like you see that sometimes you know, dough gods won't be on your side. So you just you cannot force things in the pastry world. You just gotta take a break, relax, and reassess the situation in a minute. Just like in real life, give things time to adjust themselves.
That's a lot of appetizers there, Chef.
What?
Well, Michelle's still here, so, you know.
I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. But let's just lay you off the booze. No, you signed up for it.
Everybody's a comedian today. Everybody's a comedian today. Oh my God. How is this my life?
You instigated the whole thing, just so you know. Sitting in that corner like the, you know, in the Muppet Show, the two dudes in the balcony.
Like the old man up in the balcony?
Yeah. And then I'm going to finish with a little bit of extra gravy.
Olive gravy.
C'est bon. Okay. I'm going to pass it to our guests. Get rid of the parsley on my finger.
Okay, thank you, Chef.
So they can have a snack. While
Michelle! Would you like some steak tartare that Chef has prepared?
It's Carne Cruda, man. All right, let's just assess Miss Difficult. Now, this is a little bit more relaxed. Now I can get some movement. It's still very, very stiff. But this is actually a very, very good consistency for a pasta machine. Softer doughs are harder to work with. Right. It is coming together. Now, what I would like you to do is take this dough and wrap it up in cling film and wait for about 3 hours. Okay? This will go away. Ta-da-da-da.
The steak tartare is delicious, Chef. Shelley says that she ate it a lot growing up, and she always had it with the raw egg on top.
Yeah, but that's tartare. This
Yeah.
is Carne Cruda. This
Right.
is different. This is not the French application. Eventually, anyway, this is a 6-hour dough. And as you can see, it's nice, shiny. On the surface, you see some air bubbles, which tells you that it's been hand kneaded. And
It's been what, sorry?
hand kneaded. Is that kneaded or knead?
Not Ned, kneaded.
Kneaded. It's for only 20 years
Have-
I'm working on my English.
Have some more wine, Chef.
I think Ned works fine.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
If you read it, it has been read.
It's
If
been
you
read.
read it, it has been Ned.
There you go.
Oh my gosh.
Change the language.
2 thumbs up on the tartare from Michelle, Chef.
Merci, merci. Okay, so as you can see, my dough is shiny. It's nice and rested. It's very extensible. So the whole trick to pasta making is we're trying to achieve extensibility and elasticity and the perfect balance of it. I'm going to cut this in half just to be able to work with it a little bit easier. Okay. Again, when you look at it, you will see some air pockets. It's that kneading motion that helps achieve that. So, first things first. Just going to grab
Chef,
my...
did you keep that in the fridge or just in the outside? Like,
If you're going to use it the next day, you can pop them in the fridge. Just make sure that it comes to room temperature before you work with it for about half an hour or so. I'm just going to stretch this a little bit down so it just fits in my machine, and I'm switching to my machine. David, do we need to make any adjustments, or we're good?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Now, pasta machines are like tanks. You need to buy only one, and you need to take care of it properly. How you take care of it properly is never wash it or introduce any moisture. Otherwise, the flour around it will actually soak up the moisture, and it will turn into little shards, and it's going to put themselves in these little cavities of the pasta machine, which means that they'll be there forever and they are going to tear your dough at times. I'm going to start with my widest setting and go as 1. Now the first 3 settings are to create strength in pasta when you do this, which is also referred as laminating. So I just run it once. I'm going to fold it in half. And I also want a little bit of better shape on my pasta, so I'm just going to manipulate it into a rectangular shape as much as I can. There's something in there. Okay. And then adjust the shape, fold it in half. I go at it again. Again, fold it in half. This is my widest setting right now. I am also kneading my relaxed dough, so it's a little bit tighter, okay, and it has a little bit more strength. Again, just doing a book fold, turn it around, run it. I'll do this one last time. Turn it around and run it. Now, at this stage, what I would like to do is go up to number 2. This was number 1. So the gap is coming smaller and smaller.
How many settings are on the machine, Chef?
Depends on the machine.
This one?
This one is 7.
Okay.
And we're going to stop in the last one before 7. 7 is for filled pastas, so it's nice and
Thin.
tender, thin. Yeah. So I'm up to 3. This is stretched at 2. I'm going to fold this in half, then run it at 3. Again, it's going to knead the dough for me. Just a tad of flour. You don't need too much flour. Just a tad. Okay. Now after number 3, we are going to stretch it all the way down. The strength is already there. So that's number 4. See how easy this is. Number 5.
So you did the first phase about 4 or 5 times on the first setting.
Few times until the dough stops being in its relaxed stage and it has some strength, so you don't get stickage in your machine.
But you'll start to feel a bit of the elasticity in it by about the 3rd piece of it. It starts to feel different by about the 3rd setting.
That's the whole point why
Yeah.
we're doing it.
Yeah.
Is just we're also kneading this dough from its relaxed stage to that tight stage. So now I'm at number 6. This is where I'm going to stop. Give me a sec.
All right, we'll wait here. David will sing the Johnny Carson theme song for you.
So this is going to be for our noodle, because Angie just has strange requests, unfortunately.
You're welcome.
Anyway. Now, when you do noodles, you want a nice dry outside. It's going to create some texture. So I'm just going to add a little bit of flour. Okay. Grab your tie rack and just leave it there to dry. Don't fall down. All right, I think we're good.
We sell those hangers at Well Seasoned, by the way. They're very technical
For what?
piece of equipment.
I usually, if you're doing a big batch, you might want to grab your laundry drying. What is
Your
it called?
dryer rack.
Yeah,
Okay.
that works. But if you're a really pasta nerd, then you might want to. You might want to buy or build a little pasta contraption. which
We
you
do
will
have
to
a pasta drying rack in the cupboard, and we do actually sell them here, but that coat hanger is super efficient.
Yeah, I'm Turkish, remember? We didn't have much when we were. I'm kidding. My parents was very wealthy, actually, so it was great times. Let's start the sauce and start rendering the guanciale. So this sauce is called All'amatriciana. It starts with cured pork jowl. It's just salt, pepper, and a little bit of juniper berries, and it's been dehydrated and hung dry. So we're just going to start rendering with that. Pork jowl has a very, very, very distinct taste to it. You can use bacon if you don't have access to pork jowl or pancetta or whatnot. Let's go back to All right. We're shooting elsewhere, David.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I'm getting my practices from Angie, so.
Man, this is like a tough crowd here tonight.
Tough crowd.
Yep, tough.
Just making things on the go.
Yep, you're welcome.
Yes. Oh my God. All right, let's do this. Let's go with number 1. Fold, adjust. We're still going on number 1. Okay. Fold, manipulate into a little bit of rectangular shape. Grab your mini mozzarella.
Chef, do you need a machine? Can you roll this out by hand?
You can try, for sure. It's a fun process, but it takes a little bit of practice. Not a little bit of practice. It's actually a lot of practice. Because when you do this by hand, the whole thing is about creating a rhythm on your dough with the ambient room temperature and how fast you can get there. So if you're a novice, you will need a smaller piece of dough so that you don't dry out with the ambient room temperature by the time you're going to fold your tortellinis, so it doesn't crack on you. But yeah, absolutely, you can do this by hand with that giant mozzarella that I showed you. But these machines are very affordable these days, so just buy
They're
one.
around $50, they're around $90, I think.
Yeah,
for a
give or take.
machine.
All right, let's go start going up. So that goes again where this was number 2. I'm going to fold it in half, then I'm going to run it at number 3, so it's going to squish out and create.
What's going to happen?
It is going to force the dough to come together and create strength in it. This is the stuff that they don't tell you in pasta lessons. Mainly due to the fact that they had no idea that it exists. I just have incredibly talented pasta people, pasta friends. Just a lucky guy. Hopefully they're not watching though.
So Chef, when you make your dough, and you wanted to, if you're having company for dinner someday, when we can do that again.
One egg serves one person. Is that what it is? Is that the question?
But how far ahead can you make your dough? A day or two, or?
Honestly, the thing about fresh pasta is it should not be refrigerated, because all you're after is that fresh egg smell, dough smell, which is very, very crucial to a sublime pasta. But you're more than welcome to do this ahead of time and keep it in your freezer. It's just not the most ideal thing to do. All right, so I'm just going to cut this pasta. I'm just going to cut a sheet. Angie, could you maybe grab another rack?
Another coat hanger?
Coat hanger? Sorry.
Yes, Chef.
Fastidious, please. So that's going to go there, and I'm going to take this rectangular piece. Merci, merci. Again, I'm going to keep this for noodles' sake. So that's why I am putting a little bit of flour just to dry it out, okay? Hey, the stovetop hates me again. Yeah. Come on, man. Let's go. Come on. Now, to this, I am just going to cut this into small squares. Now, traditionally, this sauce wouldn't be served with this.
So the tool you're using right now is called a Ravioli Cutter. And is that a straight wheel or a curvy wheel?
This is not a fluted cutter. This is just like the straight one. I don't know whoever is calling me. Please leave me alone. Oh. Yeah, let's just do this.
So you're cutting them into about 1-inch strips right now, right?
Slightly more than that. Now, the better you can draw, the more consistent this shape is. But don't worry about it too much. You're just literally cutting them into a little squares. All right, that'll be enough. This stuff can be re-rolled again, so please don't waste it. Let's just put it with our Queen Miss Difficult here.
That bowl looks like staff lunch tomorrow. I'm excited.
Turn the mic off, man. So, my squares are cut. What we're going to do is just going to lightly flour this. I'll take my mini one. I'll put it on my, you can do this on a smooth surface. You'll have a smooth pasta, but I like the little bit of texture so that it creates little ridges, and then you just pull it off. That's one.
David, can you zoom in on that? What he's doing on the board? I don't know if you can get in very close.
That's number two. See how easy is that? Imagine that you're doing a 300 wedding and you're in charge of the fresh pasta. There you go. How hungry are you guys? How many should we make?
Michelle can eat about 8 million.
All right. As soon as my guanciale is done, I'm going to drop little Calabrian chilies. Little garlic. Oh man, those chilies are hot.
The Calabrian chilies, are those the ones in the bottle? The
Yeah,
sauce?
the ones that you sell.
Yeah, the sauce.
Now, as soon as the garlic is fragrant, drop your shallots.
Chef Diane wants to know what size the dowel is. Is that like a half inch? A quarter inch?
Let's ask a handyman. I don't dowel. Now, to this, I put my tomato in. Now, let's rinse our bowl. Add a little bit of water just to, earn some time so all the flavors can get together.
And Chef, was that just a passata that you added?
Yes, so this is just like a San Marzano tomatoes pureed. If you can make your own passata, it's the greatest. But if you can't, don't worry about it. It's the canned tomatoes. Italian variety I find is slightly expensive. So you're more than welcome to California. There's amazing Californian canned tomatoes as well around, as well as the Italian variety. Other than that, don't buy the cheap stuff, please. It's not very good. And, this is the execution of simplicity. So we'll just need good quality products so we can just make it all sing.
So to dry that pasta now, if you were making a whole bunch of it, literally you just leave it out and it dries.
It dries, but you got to keep an eye on it. What you're looking at is a leather-like consistency, because if it goes too dry, once you started to cut it, it will break.
Sorry, I meant the finished noodles. You can just dry them out now, right? And let them
these
sit
ones
before you cook them?
So
Yeah.
these ones are very fresh, so they'll cook super fast. If you dry them, as you can hear, that they will create that texture. And that's the thing about the people mistaking al dente a whole lot, because al dente is about a finely dried pasta, dehydrated enough that what do you say? Dehydrated enough that it gives you a nice texture, rather than breaking your teeth. Feeding people raw starch is not a very good thing to do, just so you know. So it has to be, your pasta has to be dry enough so that it doesn't stick when you cut into it with a knife. This needs, so what I'm looking at is almost like a leather-like texture. All right.
Do you have a favorite cut of pasta, Chef, to eat or to make?
It just
No.
doesn't matter, no. It's like talking about dogs. Yeah.
You have a favorite dog?
But I still do love all the other ones. Yeah, so this is a fun thing to do. It takes a little bit of practice, obviously, just to get it right. But your trial and error will still taste exceptional, just so you know. It'll be super satisfying still. But it does just take time to get this one right, for sure.
Pasta is such great comfort food.
I mean, in every single culture too. So,
Yeah.
so it's a little bit of work, but it's not that much. And I've done it, what, in like 5 minutes, 6 minutes?
Yep.
So you can pretty much produce this for 4 people in about half an hour once you get the skill set right. Now let's just taste our sauce. This pasta, especially this one, is going to cook in about 30 seconds. This dried one is going to take about 2 minutes.
So, Chef, the dry pasta, Shelley would like to know, if you dry them out, do you have to worry about the raw egg in them? How long do they take to dry? And you just dry them out at room temperature.
Again, this noodles, they just need to be slightly dry to the touch when you fold them and cut them. They don't stick together.
I think she's talking about your finished noodles there.
These ones?
Yeah.
Oh, these ones, once they're dry, they're not going to be perishable. Now, so if you want a nice, like a little more tender noodle, you can just pop them in the water right now. They'll be, you remember that noodle that we had? That was like, so that will give you a really nice soft bite. But you can leave them on a tray like this until they're dry like that. They'll still be just fine. Now, how to sauce and finish pasta? Let me just wash my hands for a sec.
So, Shelley, you can buy egg noodle pasta that's dried and it lasts for a couple of years. There's nothing weird about it. You buy it at the grocery store or whatever. So you don't need to add preservatives or anything like that.
No, no, absolutely. Because once you're dry, bacteria only grows if there is moisture.
Right.
So once you're dry and there's lack of moisture, you won't be able to populate the bacteria for sure. So just dry them in room temperature and then put them in bags and store them airtight. I'm going to get rid of these because these are a bit too soft to be eaten. So they need to dry. Now with your pasta saucing, your pasta water, the magic formula is 2 tablespoons per liter. If you do that, you'll be at the perfect saltiness. And yes, you want a salty water. Otherwise, your pasta is going to be bland. You have flavorsome sauce, you have a bland pasta. It's not going to work out really, really fine.
And
now,
here we cook just like for boiling pasta with kosher salt, right? You're not using your fancy sea salt.
no, who puts fancy salt in boiling water? You people do that?
People do things.
All right, now pasta is going in. So that's nice. Noodles are in, and this is going to be done in about 2 minutes. But I'm going to let it run about a minute, then I'm going to finish it in my sauce a little bit. But the sauce, your consistency you're looking at is a nice pulp. It's not liquid. It's not sticking to the bottom. Now, to this, we're just going to, oh, there's another noodle. We're just going to put a handful of butter. And then I'm going to start to get my butter into my sauce.
Are those your pasta sauce moves? That whole thing you're doing right now?
Am I doing something?
Uh-huh.
Cue in the music, please. Let's take the apron off for a minute. Let's talk about our feelings.
Talk about our feelings? No.
Could take some butter.
Mo butter, mo better.
This is about 100 mils of butter. I know it looks like a lot, but 100 mils.
I think next week I'm going to stay home. You and David can host this.
I think that's a great idea. You got to teach him how to do the boards, though.
I'm going to have a night off next week.
Yeah, you should. Well, let's get these in too. Why not? So my pasta started floating, which is a good place to be. I'm touching it. It's still slightly raw because my stovetop is still taking its time. No more questions? What's going on? Are we going out of business or what?
Mm-hmm, probably.
All right.
I'm surprisingly few questions about this process. I think we've had a lot of people watching tonight, and I think a lot of people will come back and watch this again, the pasta, the rolling part, and the conversation about that.
If you really want to do justice to learning pasta, you have to come down here when it's allowed.
Yeah.
And then we should spend a day on it, talk about all the nuances and this and that. There is no other way. Like, it's you can't just read a book on plumbing and do a whole house. It's just that's just not how it works.
So the sheets behind you, Chef, if you were to make a stuffed pasta with that, you'd have to roll them down, you said, to like the lowest setting.
Yeah.
And then you would fill it with your butternut squash or whatever you are filling it with. But the cooking method is the same. So you just use,
Absolutely.
use your pasta roller.
I am drying to achieve texture. If I was to do a filled pasta, then I wouldn't dry it because then I'm losing my elasticity and extensibility. Then it would break. So that's why we're drying. But when you dry this, and just like we would dry our noodle after it's shaped, right? It creates texture on the surface. And that's just a wonderful thing. Now, one of the things about Amatriciana is it's always finished with pecorino romano.
So the noodles or the sheets that are drying in the back, you have to make sure that you kind of keep an eye on them because at some point
Check every 3 minutes.
Yeah, you
4
won't be
minutes,
able
yeah.
to cut them. It'll get dry and
It'll break.
you'll have to make a giant lasagna.
No, you just get rid of it, and just like a noble cook, you start from the beginning. Or you can sit and eat your mistakes, I guess.
You can what? Sorry?
Sit and eat your mistakes.
Like your
Just to
feelings?
learn
Is that
from-
the same
no.
thing? Oh.
So, what I'm looking at, not a saucy bottom, not a drippy drop,
Saucy bottom.
and it's just nice, cooked, and tight on the plate. We shouldn't touch the topic of garlic bread, I'm assuming.
Hey, I thought we were getting garlic bread tonight. I thought you were doing that.
You know what? I can't anymore. No, that's just a very East Side Mario's move. So I'm just gonna leave it at that.
East Side Mario's.
Yeah. Rich, I love garlic bread. Don't get me wrong. And then, and this is it, really. Let's see. But just before I serve it, it's like a responsible cook. I have to. That's pretty good. It could use a little bit more cheese. This cheese is just like tightening the pasta up. Let's go into cooking water. Maybe a splash of cooking water. That starch is also going to bind. And you want that splip, splash sound when you're finishing your pasta. Okay?
Chef, have you, the big thing on TV right now is the Stanley Tucci touring through Italy. Have you seen any of that? I feel like everybody's watching that right now, and everybody's sort of obsessed with Italian food and cooking Italian. And
You know what's really annoying? That feta recipe from TikTok.
oh, the baked feta.
Oh my God, everybody went there.
Why is it annoying? It's funny. We've sold a lot of feta.
Well, good for you.
I got bills, Chef. I got bills to pay.
I have dreams.
You have what?
Dreams.
Memes. I feel like you were going to be a meme.
Hopefully.
Maybe you already are.
Hopefully.
Maybe I'll turn your little winking face into a meme in my spare time.
I don't think you have spare time.
I have a fork. That's what I have.
Let's get rid of that. And let's also serve our guests.
So you don't finish with cheese. Interesting.
We just put like a pound of Ooh! I'm kidding. Pound of cheese in there. You want more cheese?
No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
That's what Nick Jagger said. American girls want everything that they can get.
Because at Olive Garden, they come around. Do you want some extra cheese with that?
With the big pepper grinder.
And the giant cheese grater. Do you want extra cheese? Okay, that's mine. Yours is here.
I thought you
COVID
would have
times.
brought it. Yeah.
COVID times. So I'm excited for this, but I'm also curious
let's just
about
finish
these
this.
noodles. I think these noodles need to be cut soon, or they're gonna.
I don't know if you qualify for that judgment. Let me see.
I'm qualified. Trust me.
trust you.
Trust
I've never
me.
seen you making pasta.
No,
Why am
you're
I
not-
making the pasta?
What am I making pasta for? You're here.
All right.
What am I making pasta for? I'm you.
This is a close judgment for the sake of finishing on
I
time.
was
I'm gonna
right.
do it.
I was right.
You shouldn't be chugging red wine, Angie. It's not.
It's not pretty. It's just not pretty.
All right, so let's just while Angie just consumes that. How's the pasta?
It's perfect.
Yeah, it's really good.
David's loving it. It's perfect. You know, it's got, I like the guanciale. It's cut really small, and it spreads out through the whole pasta dish. It's nice and salty from the cheese, but not, not too salty, obviously. Okay, so you just rolled that up.
Just like a cigar, and you just cut it.
And now you have nudes. Perfect nudes.
This could have used a little, maybe 10 more minutes of drying time, but I'm not going to take up your sweet time. Now, just for to mess with people, I like the long nudes sometimes. I just leave them in this long form, which is fun. So you got to be able to slurp it.
Do you make a lot of pasta at home, Chef?
Can't you tell?
Yep. I was being kind.
Yes, I do. I do because I love it so much. And I've taught pasta. I've made pasta for over 20 years. I ate pasta all my life.
Is pasta a thing in Turkey?
Noodles, yeah, there's
Yeah.
a form of, not like this. But that again, those two people just reintroduced me to the pasta. So I dumped everything I know. And I just went back and start from scratch, and right now I am quite happy, but it took me a lot of trials and balls. But again, just like you can see, our dough just gave me a hard time. It just happens, unfortunately. There's no way around it.
So you have this pile of noodles here now. How do you dry that? Just leave it sit out, just like that?
Like normally what I would do would just cut them properly and grab them by their head and just like turn them into nests and let them dry. But this is just fine. Once you cut this, just grab a big pile of flour in hand. Do this. And then I would keep this in ambient room temperature for another, I would say, 40 minutes. Then I would just like grab the whole thing and go into the pot.
And so some sauces do better with long noodles. Some sauces do better with short noodles. Do you have a theory of philosophy on saucing noodles?
I'm a student. No, I don't qualify for that judgment. No, no. I'm still trying to understand the whole thing. I love butter glaze on everything. Just simple with not a whole lot of flavor, so you can like really taste this, that you put your work into it. But people tend to have just like rules and regulations. But I'm not in a stage yet that so I'm just still working on my dough. Is what it is. We're going to tackle the theory. It's been only 15 years.
You're getting there.
Yeah, I'm a slow one for sure. For sure. I cook for a living.
A couple more years, Chef, you'll have this whole pasta thing down.
It'll take a lot of trial.
It's delicious. So I think, unfortunately, without being able to have you here in person, it's hard for you to feel the dough. In a cooking class, when you're in a live cooking class, you can feel it, and that's the best way to learn. This is obviously all we can do at the moment in terms of the cooking school. So I know you weren't super, interested in doing a condensed version of this class because there's a lot of subtleties that you really need to learn with pasta, but I hope that you guys tonight learned some things and maybe are inspired.
It's like saying, teach me music. You got an hour.
Yeah.
Where do you start? Like, where do you even start? It genuinely depends on different packages of flour, different eggs, your skill level, different regions of Italy, if that is the pasta. Every culture has it, obviously, right? So it's just a huge subject, and this is just like the tip of the iceberg that what everybody else does, and they just keep on doing it, and you just keep watching the same thing. But
you have to make it. So I hope you feel tonight that you have enough information and maybe enough confidence to get into the kitchen and try your first batch of dough and start rolling
Just
out your
smell this.
noodles.
you just
Smell
got
it?
to smell it.
Yeah, it
How
smells.
incredible it
yeah.
is. It's just like eggs and
flour.
flour and fresh
Yeah.
flour. That's the whole thing about pasta. And
Yeah.
that is pasta. Yeah.
So I want to hear from you guys what you learned tonight. Hopefully this was a valuable exercise. I'd like to see photos of what you're making at home. So if
Send them to Angie.
Yeah, send them.
I will look at it as a third party. You know.
He loves it. He totally loves it. He loves the emails. He loves the comments. I tell him, hey, chef, somebody sent a message. They think you're amazing. And he's like, oh, yeah,
I'm chugging red wine. Don't
I
bother
know.
me.
He loves it. So if you have questions when you're at home making your own dough, obviously not mid-crank, but if you have questions, send them to askachef@wellseasoned.ca, and Chef and I will answer your questions. And then hopefully one day we'll be able to have you back here in our kitchen. So we still are looking for ideas for next week.
Are we?
So, yep. Do you have any ideas?
Oh,
Do you have
yeah,
something?
millions.
Oh, really?
I just got to think about it.
Okay. So
Do
if
you have wine?
Do I have wine? So if you have something specific that you'd like to learn, like pasta tonight, we'd love to hear from you. So you can go ahead and type them into the comments here. And if for some reason you weren't able to download the recipes from tonight, they'll be available on our website, and you can always find them here on Facebook. So yeah, thanks, Chef. It was really good. I know you were like not super stoked about covering this subject in an hour, but you did a great job.
It's not about, like, I just want to do a justice to it.
Yeah.
You know, just because there's a lot of information out there and everybody's talking about the same thing. And that's how you would dry your noodles. Put an extra pinch of flour. And I'll see you next week.
All right. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you right here next Thursday, 5:30 on Facebook.